everyone, I'm Brandon and this is Comic Conversation. Yes, we are doing it again. And this episode we will be talking about Superman, Leviathan Rising. It is the lead-in, the prologue to the big DC event Leviathan, written by Brian Michael Bendis. I'm excited. You should be excited. This is the most excited I've been for a Superman story in a while because it's Bendis, for one, and even though he's been writing Superman for about a year now, maybe a little over a year, it's a mystery. And I feel like this is something that Bendis does really good. He's really good at getting these street level heroes down, getting some really gritty stories. And even though it's a superhero story, and I hate to use the word gritty, it gives the impression of, I don't know, maybe dark color tones and things that we come to expect from, I don't know, Daredevil or Jessica Jones. But yeah, I kind of mean that. We're gonna get a tale that is a little more grounded on detective work, and that excites me because, hey, it's Detective Comics and I like that. But the mystery is Leviathan. Who is Leviathan? What is Leviathan? Just a little bit of backstory. Leviathan seems to be a corporation, but also a character. And it's not a new name either. Leviathan, the organization, was operated by Talia al Ghul back in the past. And it seems like Leviathan is taking out all the other organizations. The DEO, Cadmus, doesn't matter. They're all going down. They're all going down, and they're all going down at the hands of Leviathan. What's the point? What's the end goal? We've been seeing advertisements in other comics. It almost seems as if there are some heroic intentions because the advertisements for Leviathan, the event, are actually invitations from Leviathan to heroes like Batgirl, Batman, Green Arrow, Plastic Man, Manhunter. This is the kind of things we're seeing leading into the event. And so, what are the intentions? And can these heroes accept the means? Can these heroes possibly accept the invitation? We don't know just yet, but we know Leviathan plans something big because they're already taking out people like Amanda Waller. And so I'm excited just on that alone. Personally, I don't think any of the heroes are going to want to join Leviathan because, well, in the early pages, we're seeing that Leviathan is already planning an attack on Clark Kent. Clark Kent gets kidnapped, and the motivation behind the kidnapping is that, well, a conversation happened between Leviathan and Amanda Waller, and trying to find out what exactly Superman's weaknesses are. And I don't mean weaknesses like kryptonite or keep him hidden from the sun, because Clark loves his suntans, but it's more like, how do we get Superman at his weakest? And the answer isn't Lois. That seems to be where all the other villains seem to think, but actually she's very dangerous, and that's something that Bendis has been saying he wants to get across very clearly in interviews that he's done. Lois Lane is the most dangerous woman, maybe most dangerous person in DC, according to Bendis, and that's something we're going to see featured very on. That said, she's not a target. You need to look at other people if you're looking for targets close to Superman, and so Clark Kent ends up being the target. Clark, of course, is Superman, blah, 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 but Clark also knows that there's an attack on him impending. He's aware, super hearing, he knows what's going on. Can't just be saying things like that. Clark knows, and he lets Lois know. And he's also letting Lois know that he thinks he's gonna let himself be kidnapped just so he can find out what exactly the story is. And so that's exactly what happens. Lois gives some very charming words of advice. You know, you're a bad actor. You know, if you're going to pretend to be kidnapped, you're gonna have to lean into it a little bit. Don't get overboard, you know. You're not a great actor. Just relax and go with the flow. which Clark, by the way, didn't like that critique. But Lois says, hey, acting is lying, and you're just not a good liar, which is a backhanded compliment, actually. Like, I like, if my girlfriend goes and tells me, you're a bad liar, that means that she thinks I'm honest and she trusts me, but that's still a backhanded compliment, and I'm not sure if I like it. Clark didn't like it either. Solidarity, brother. Anyway, we go along just as planned. Clark allows himself to be kidnapped, and he is a bad actor. It's really silly looking. He gets tased. We all know Superman can't just be tased, but he really oversells it, just like it's really bad. At least that's how I read it on the panels. That's the way I heard it in my head. I'm sorry. Anyway, so he gets tased, gets kidnapped, and he gets brought face to face with Leviathan. And Leviathan is Talia al Ghul. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not, actually. Yes, she did run the organization, but it seems that there's more going on here. Talia does want to confront Superman, maybe thought using Clark would be a way to get a hold of him, and we find out why a little later on. Because why kidnap Superman if Leviathan's intentions are to hire the heroes, get them to join forces? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. So let's keep reading. Doodaloo. We see Lois is worried now. I mean, Superman, of course, is a busy superhero. Clark, of course, is a busy reporter. You shouldn't be worried if Superman's missing, but no, Lois is his wife. Lois knows if something's wrong, and Lois goes home, investigates, does notice something that she appears to be wrong, summons Batman, summons all the troops. Wonder Woman shows up, and they have this conversation. Batman, of course, is a little skeptical, like, are you sure you... Alright, I'm sorry to do that voice. That was unnecessary. But he does want to know if it was necessary to summon them, and this is possibly lead down a path that every time Clark is missing for a little bit, a little busy, you might think it's time to summon the troops, and Lois is like, hey, this is serious. You're characterizing me wrong, you're judging me, and honestly, it's a little condescending. Don't mansplain to me, Batman. So, after this conversation, that's when Wonder Woman shows up. Batman's off investigating, comes to the same decision that Lois does, that yes, it does appear that some kidnappers showed up, and something seems to be off because Clark, Superman, hasn't been responding back to any messages, so what's going on? The story jumps around a bit because this book is like a mini trade. There's a lot of collaborators. It's Bendis, it's Fraction. In fact, let's just run down everybody right now. Artists like Yannick Paquette, Mike Perkins, Steve Lieber, Eduardo Pancisca, Julio Ferreira. Nope, that's wrong. Ferreira. It's just Ferreira. It just looks a little weird. Okay. Artists like Yannick Paquette, Mike Perkins, Steve Lieber, Eduardo Pancisca, Julio Ferreira, Nathan Fairbairn. I'm sorry if I'm butchering you all. I'm sorry. Paul Mounts, FCO Plalencia, Dave Sharp, Simon Bowland, Clayton Cowles, Tom Napolitano, Troy Pateri, and the cover of this one was done by Paquette and Fairbairn. There's a lot of collaborators because it's covering a whole bunch of the DC universe. This is a major event that we're expecting this summer. Let's get back to Clark though. Clark is now in the midst of being rescued by Lois, Firestorm, just the Justice League is there to rescue Clark, and he does need rescuing because he's been wearing a kryptonite vest this whole time. It was planned for Superman. Talia didn't know that Clark was Superman. She didn't even realize that she had already captured the dude and was killing him. But now he's in the process of being rescued, and that's great. But as he's being rescued, Talia is having a confrontation with the Leviathan. The Leviathan, who we still don't know who that is under the mask. Rumors suggest that it could be Jason Todd. I don't think it is, because why would it be the first person suggested? Who suggested it? Damian. Damian actually suggested it to Batman that maybe because it's a red mask, it's the Red Hood. Huh? But I don't think it is. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But Talia's having this confrontation with whoever Leviathan is. And Talia is upset because the organization was swept up from under her. She used to lead this organization, and she figured that kidnapping Superman would be part of her coup to get back her operation. And Leviathan does not approve because Leviathan does not have an issue with Superman. He doesn't want to take out Superman. In fact, taking out Superman just brought a whole bunch of unnecessary attention that Leviathan didn't want on him or her. We don't know. So, how do you deal with problems like that? You drop them out of an airship. No, well, that's actually what Leviathan did, drop Talia out of an airship. Because you see, not only does he not want the attention, but also figures that once Leviathan does everything they plan, once they get rid of all of these seedy organizations and whatever else they have intended for the rest of the world, the superheroes will want to join them. They're actually fighting Superman's fight. At least in Leviathan's eyes, they're fighting Superman's fight. Would Clark agree? Probably not. But who does agree? See, that's where we're at now. It's not just a whodunit, who is Leviathan, but who agrees with Leviathan's methods? Who's willing to join? Who has already joined Leviathan? I'm very excited for Leviathan. I love this story. I love the artwork. There's a lot of artists on there. It's hard to single out anyone, but I really enjoyed seeing interactions between Leviathan and Amanda Waller. I enjoyed seeing Lois Lane. I enjoyed seeing the Jimmy Olsen story. We get to see a little bit of Jimmy Olsen there. It's a little weird, a little creepy. Vomiting cat is nuts, but I enjoyed everything inside of it. Did every story element necessarily feel important? No, but I do think it was worth the price tag that we got, being able to see just like these little corners of the world with Supergirl. I thought her story was particularly both heart-wrenching and heartwarming because it's less about her and more about members of the DEO. I do think you should check it out, and if you don't check it out, then you need to pick up the Leviathan event itself when it is released. It is very interesting. I'm excited for it. I don't see how it could go wrong. That's just how I feel. Who do you think is Leviathan? Who do you think might join Leviathan? What did you think of this comic? Comment below. Let's keep the conversation going. And also, subscribe to the channel. Like the page, share the video, and if you want to keep the conversation going on Twitter, you can follow us at Comic Convo. I'm Brandon. This is Comic Conversation. Until next time.